Welcome to another movie plot and enjoy the memories. We open with young Jim Halsey delivering a '77 Cadillac Seville from Chicago to San Diego. He's been driving all night in the rain and drifts off, causing him to nearly crash head-on with a passing truck. Sometime down the highway, when seeing a hitchhiker on the side of the road, he decides to give him a ride, hoping that the conversation will keep him awake. The drifter gives his name as John Ryder and is polite enough but doesn't answer when asked for a specific location to be dropped off at. As they pass a stranded car, he demands that Jim keeps driving, so he pulls over and tells the creepy stranger to get out. Ryder refuses, so Jim continues down the road and the hitcher calmly admits that he dismembered the driver of the other vehicle limb by limb. He pulls a knife and says that he'll do the same to Jim unless he stops him, which is the self-destructive psycho's whole endgame. Ryder's on a killing spree and looking for somebody to end it, but also didn't close the door properly, so Jim kicks him to the curb. He gets away for now while the hitcher crawls himself up off the road while probably thinking that he should wear a seatbelt the next time. Honestly, how slow does this kid drive, because soon a family in a station wagon overtakes Jim with a full back seat, having already picked up the hitchhiker. They must really be in a hurry because Jim almost has a head-on collision while trying to warn them, and the family just keeps on keeping on. By the time Jim finally catches back up to the station wagon, he finds the family butchered in the back seat and no sign of the one who did it. He jumps back in the car and speeds to the nearest payphone located at an abandoned gas station, but of course the thing doesn't work. The hitcher's already there waiting but just drops the car keys that Jim left outside as he admires this kid above all else for some reason. Not like the next guy who Ryder kills after receiving a lift and uses his truck to tailgate James down the highway. When he realizes he's about to kill him, the hitcher backs off as the fun's only just beginning for his unwilling participant and lets Jim reach another gas station. This one's also closed, as I guess it's a holiday, so Ryder returns crashing through the gas pumps and soaking the area with fuel. He then sparks a match and gives the kid barely enough time to get in his car and flee before blowing up the gas station. We then follow a girl named Nash as she arrives at work at a roadside diner before anyone else. The waitress meets James, who frantically asks her to call the police, and despite knowing better, she lets him inside. He makes the call and gets cleaned up while being served a cheeseburger on the house, since it's the only thing Nash knows how to cook. While they're chatting about anything but murderous hitchhikers, Jim finds a severed finger placed in his fries. Presumably it wasn't the girl, so he knows that Ryder's nearby but is immediately arrested by the police, who blame him for everything. He's their prime suspect, as Ryder stole Jim's wallet and left it at the crime scene, and the planted murder weapon doesn't help. They bring Jim to the local police station, but it doesn't take many questions for Sergeant Starr to realize this kid's no killer. They place him in a cell until they figure this out, and sometime later Jim wakes up having slept through a massacre. His cell door's unlocked and canine officers are wandering around the station unattended like they own the place. The hitchers murdered everyone that believed Jim was innocent and called another precinct, or these other guys just showed up. Knowing that he'll be blamed for this, James panics and takes a gun before escaping out the back door. He runs down the road until coming across a damaged payphone at yet another abandoned building when two cops roll up. Before they can say anything, Jim points his gun and takes the partners hostage, forcing one to cuff the other. He's then made to drive while Jim has them radio the captain so he can explain this inexplicable situation. The captain's like, this happens all the time, and just when two more officers are beginning to believe Jim's story, the hitcher returns. He shoots both troopers dead, then continues driving while Jim barely stops the car from crashing, then runs off into the desert. Had enough of this, he thinks about turning the gun on himself but doesn't, and continues down the highway until coming across another diner. He just calmly orders a coffee before taking a seat, but is soon confronted by Ryder like, "What ya doing?" This time with a gun, the kid threatens to shoot Creepy, but he took all the bullets out at the station and Jim never checked. When he asks why he's doing this, Ryder replies that Jim is a smart kid and to figure it out before placing 2 pennies over his eyes. He then leaves Jim a stack of bullets for the gun and just walks away to continue playing their messed up game. Jim jumps on the next coach leaving and loads up the gun before noticing that Nash is on the same bus. He pulls her aside to try convince her that he's innocent, though she's not all that reassured by his frantic behavior. She is however convinced when he says he's willing to hand himself over to the next 2 officers who pull over the bus to arrest him. One of them however thinks that Jim killed his friends and is about to shoot him in cold blood. He tells his partner to grab his arm so he can claim it was an accident, but Nash pulls Jim's gun like, "What the hell are you doing?" She makes them throw away their revolvers, but Jim only takes the bullets for some reason before fleeing with the girl. They steal the cops' wheels while Ryder's shown enjoying the show from a distance, but it isn't long before more officers catch up. Nash says they'll surrender over the radio, but these bloodthirsty officers are out for blood and try to take these 2 kids out. With the gun fully loaded minus the warning shots, I suppose Nash tries to catch her first body but just ends up dropping it. The troopers come up either side, so Jim slams on the brakes, causing one officer to blow out the tire of the other. Somehow this causes both to flip in dramatic fashion and tumbleweed down the road while Jim drives away like whoops. While traversing some of the wonkiest roads, a police chopper arrives and begins just shooting at whoever's inside this vehicle. I'm not sure if that's standard police practice, but Ryder sure doesn't as he catches up and shoots the chopper out of the sky. It crashes into the middle of the road, blocking any further police chase, and then he just drives away, leaving Nash with a big old "I told you so." They ditch the car and Nash demands to know why the Hitcher didn't just kill them, but Jim has no answer for this. Arriving at a truck stop, they get a room at the motel, and later when Nash is asleep, Jim goes to take a shower. She's really only pretending to be asleep so that she can call her family when he's not looking, but nothing comes of that anyway. Silently, Ryder breaks inside to lay beside her on the bed, and before Nash realizes it isn't Jim she's kidnapped. Jim weaponizes a towel rack and begins searching for her in the truck stop, but is soon found by the police. They're convinced that Jim is innocent as they've found Nash being stretched between a trailer and truck driven by Ryder, and that'll definitely do it. He threatens to tear her in two if he doesn't speak to Jim, and the police can't shoot him or else his foot will come off the clutch. They convince the boy to try negotiate with Ryder for her release, so he jumps in the cab with the complete psycho. He's got a loaded gun beside him and wants Jim to shoot him in the head, but Jim knows that will cause his foot to slip the clutch and Nash will be Genghis Khan. When he doesn't give in to further coaxing, Ryder rips the girl in half like a Christmas cracker, but he's finally caught. Other than the name that Jim gives the captain at the station, they're unable to find any indication that John Ryder ever existed. The police allow Jim to enter the interrogation room, and the creep seems pleased that he touches his hand. Jim just spits in Ryder's face, getting him taken away by the cops, but that also seems to please this weirdo. Determining the serial killer to be too dangerous for the department, they arrange to have him transported to a state prison. Once he's shackled and sent off one way, the captain drives Jim home in the other to see his family. Having thought about it for all of about 2 minutes, Jim decides he wants to get revenge on Ryder, so he steals the captain's gun and forces him to pull over. He then steals the truck and chases after the prison bus, but Ryder has already managed to escape. We don't see how he managed to get hold of a shotgun and kill all the cops, but get to see him leap out the back door and into Jim's windshield. Jim drops his gun, so he slams on the brakes, throwing Ryder back out the windshield and onto the road. The truck stalls, and before Jim can get moving again, Ryder scrapes himself up off the road and picks up his shotgun. He starts firing into the windshield with seemingly endless bullets, so Jim lies down and gets the truck started. He floors it and the Hitcher is thrown off the side of the road, and Jim gets out to finish him off with a shotgun. He just turns to leave instead when Ryder stands back up, so Jim spins around and unloads the shotgun into his chest. And the movie ends.